but I'm aware of two things. Number one, that there being a great falling away, which is a little bit different than the fact of the reason that people are particularly leaving church today. You know, someone said one time that I love God, but I hate church. And the reason behind that is because what church has become commercialized these days and so self-centered these days, and there's a borderline, there's a thin line between worshiping God and worshiping a pastor, or worshiping God and worshiping a denomination. Yeah. And also the church actually doing what it said it is called to do. You know, and you know, circle that with the enemy always trying to inject something to get people a reason to leave the church, whether it's church hurt. You know, they don't like me. They won't let me do this. They won't let me do that. And so, you know, we find excuses where we want to leave the church. And so, but the big thing there is, are we really leaving church or are we really leaving God?
Oh, you're starting trouble here, sir. I tell you, I can't have hope.
Yeah, because
I cannot have this.
Well, because the church.
Order the court.
Well, you know, this pandemic taught us that the church is not a building. Because what God did was he shut the churches down to see where he was. Where did he fit in our lives? What was his place? Where was his priority? Because I couldn't go to the carpet and to the padded pews and to my pulpit, but I had to stay at home. So now where is God in this? And so, you know, the whole thing about Christianity is that, do we leave the building? Are we really leaving the building? Or are we on the slide really leaving God?
You, sir, are a pastor who is starting trouble here on my program. And so...
Certainly not my intention to start trouble.
Yeah. Another Donna Walton special. Let me go to this caller here. Save me out of trouble here. Area code 334-663-6398. Please help me. Who may I say is calling Elevation Radio 1? Okay. See, everybody wants to listen today and not talk. Let me throw this in real fast. This program is brought to you by Donna Walton Gospel Radio and locally here in Baltimore, Paris, by A7, who has dressed and outfitted the Music Man. God bless you. I did what I said I was going to do. All righty. And we got the board lit up here, but no one wants to talk. 1914-205-5353. 1914-205-5353. What do you think about what Pastor Hudson, I might have to call him Pastor Dangerous Hudson, has said, Queen?
On what he was just talking about?
Exactly. Make it short.
Well, I think, first of all, what he spoke was truth. And people need to walk in their destiny.
Okay. All right.
Short, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Thank God. Because she's the preacher. Pull a coat.
Yeah.
So let me see here. How did you first get into music? I understand your mama is on the line, but she doesn't want to talk. She won't listen. I was hoping for some stories that she might tell me.
No.
Embarrassing story there.
Let her be silent then. Well, you know what? I've been musically inclined all my life, but you know, my backstory is this. I had an experience one time. You know, I used to sing. I used to do talent shows and all of this kind of stuff growing up, and I remember, you know, I'd written songs. I used to write poetry. I did all of that stuff. But one time, I was at church and I was getting ready to sing. I was in the choir, getting ready to lead a song.
Okay.
And I opened my mouth to sing, and nothing came out. And you know, the church was packed, it was full. You know, and I was excited. And after that experience, I vowed that I was not going to sing again. And I
Gotta be careful,
didn't for many, 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 many years. I did not, which is why I didn't record my first album until 2016. I released it 2017, and that's the song that you just heard, which is also the album title, "Watch Me All Over." You know, but I've loved music all my life, and from back in the day with Afro trying to be Michael Jackson to, I've always loved music, and it's been a part of my life. I sing in choir. I sing in a great choir called God's Children when I was at Fort Hood, Texas, some years back. A great choir. We went all over the state of Texas, and wrote some music for a little group called the Sons of Faith, who are some of the men that came out of that choir. But I've always been writing. I've always loved to just write. And, initially I wanted to write songs and pitch them to other well-established gospel artists. It was never my intention to record anything. And,
so God has tricks.
Yeah, so, and so
God has tricks on it.
Yeah, well, that same producer convinced me to record "Wash Me All Over," and because I was going to pitch that song and all of the other songs that I have to somebody else, and he convinced me, and once he produced it and sent it to me, I was like, oh wow, that's not so bad, because
that's quite good.
You have this tendency many times in your own inadequacy, pair yourself to someone else, which is a dangerous thing to do. You should you should never do that. You should only just use the gifts and the talent that God has given you, and if you put the work in, then God will do the rest for you. But you can never compare yourself to a Marvin Sapp or Donnie McClurkin or anybody else.
Fred Hammond.
You just kind of stay in your lane and do that. And so that's how I got recorded. He convinced me to do it, and from that, we did a full CD, "Wash Me All Over," and in this past September, on my birthday, September the 29th, I released my second CD entitled "I Came to Worship." And
Can I ask you a question, sir? Can I ask you a question? I noticed on the cover of your CD that you are a well-dressed, well-barbered young man with a few gray strands.
Okay.
And so, as for all those who are,
don't they?
wisdom, definitely. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, can you say something to the senior, well-seasoned gospel artist who's thinking about doing it, but saying, "Well, I'm too old. I'm too, I can't do it. I've passed my prime." What can you tell them to keep them encouraged? Well, the first thing is, if anything that you want to do in the kingdom of God, first of all, is make sure you're called to do it. And as long as you have breath in your body, as long as you're breathing, because one of the things that God always gives us is that he gives us purpose, he gives us skills, he gives us talents. And we have to go out and do something. Nothing is going to come by osmosis. You're not going to wake up one day. No, you got to put the work in, And if you want to do this, it doesn't matter how old you are. That's just subjective, and it's sort of a relative statement. If you put the work in, you can do it. You will be amazed. You will be amazed what happens when you put the work in. Mm-hmm. It's almost like studying for a test. You'd be amazed what you can do when you study. God knows that's true. Exactly.
And so with this, it doesn't matter. If you put the work in, if you do the work, and here's the thing that God will also do for you, is that because wherever there is a vision, God will make provision. Because a lot of times people don't do things because of lack of something. And lack of something then will cause you times to make excuses. But I'm telling you, where the vision is, God will make the provision for it, because that's what God does.
Ow, stepping on my corn, sir.
I'm just saying, ask Moses, If people need water, where's the water? Well, the water's in the rock. All you got to do is speak to it. So, God always makes provision, but just make sure you're called to do what you're doing.
Well, sound like a pastoral counseling session, sir. And so it's okay. It's okay. Let me see here. Some of our singers who have sung all the way into the 80s and 90s, Dorothy Norwood, Shirley Caesar, they're still kicking it up. Still doing the do.
Walker, although they sung,
definitely.
I mean, you just got to practice. You got to practice, and you got to do it. And many times you gotta be doing your craft when other people are asleep.
Oh, say it again, sir.
You see,
good God.
Yeah, you gotta do your craft when other people are asleep. You gotta when everybody else. And what that really means is when everybody else is kind of goofing off, doing whatever. Mm-hmm. If you want to be great in something or good in something, then you have to study and practice it sometimes at unorthodox times. I remember going to work. I'm just watching me all over. I'd go to work all day, leave work, go to the studio, in the studio 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because I wanted to get this done. And so, you just have to do some unorthodox things is when you're trying to get something done. And it just don't show up in your lap. You got to go for it. You got to go for it,
Well, okay. So that when I'm sleeping at night and my wife rolls around and says, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to the keyboard. Have an inspiration." Mm-hmm. So now I'm okay. Yeah. I'm justified because when she complains, "Why don't you bear with me?" I said, "I'm doing a Danny Hudson, Pastor Hudson." He told me to go for it. Going for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I keep a notepad on the nightstand when you wake up at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning.
You're a true songwriter, sir.
And you have a song. And you gotta,
Yep. Napkins and all kinds of what's that? Stickums and all kinds of stuff.
Stickums, voice recorders, whatever it is that you need. When God gives you that inspiration for a song. And I'll tell you about the songwriting. I thank God that He's helping me perfect the craft every day as I continue to write and continue to learn and study others. And even as I study others, you talked about not only the seniors, but this is for everybody. It's all right to study somebody, but you never want to become them.
Ooh. And that's also true for a lot of preachers, sir. Studying T.D. Jakes.
That's
kind of copy the sermon.
That's right. It's what I said. That's why I said comparing yourself to somebody is that's not a good thing to do. And you can look at anybody. I don't care preachers. You can look at their style. You can look at how they break things down. You can look at their movement on the stage or on TV or whatever. But you never want to become who they are. Mm. You always want to operate in what God given you with your own style and your own skills, your own talents. You want to be who you are.
Be an original, for Christ's sake. Let's stop copying everybody. Matter of fact, well, I don't want to get myself in trouble. I was trying to find some new places to play at, and when they say about rehearsing a choir, we basically built a whole industry of ministry on copying choirs who have recorded. I spent like 2 years recording it. They want you to learn it in 20 minutes and whatnot.
Right.
But, if you don't have it down to the note of the recording, then they say you're not a good minister of music. But if you veer from that and try to do something original, it's a problem. But we built the whole church industry, music ministry, on copying and copycatting other people's songs. Right. My God. Let me stop.
But that's still there is still original out here. Just as God created us with our own DNA, our own fingerprint, an original masterpiece, not to be like anybody else or copy anybody else. No matter what you do, there's always an original left, and you just have to be able to find it. You don't want to copy anybody or be like anybody or try to sing like anybody or anything like that. Because, I mean,